Welcome to When Life Gets Strange, tips for loving your perfectly imperfect military and everyday life. Let me introduce you to my wife and your host, Maria Strange. We have been married for over 20 years, over 17 years in the Army, and she is the mother to our 6 children, and we are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As a certified life coach, Maria's goal is to help you thrive and love your perfectly imperfect military and everyday life. Are you ready?
Hello, my beautiful, amazing military wives, and welcome back to When Life Gets Strange, episode 32. Today, we're going to be talking about grace, but first, how's your week been? What did you guys do for Veterans Day? My husband made a bonfire outside and we roasted and we made cookies and we just hung out and had a great time celebrating together. My daughter's school, my youngest, she does a Veterans Day ceremony, and we got to go to that on Wednesday because there wasn't school on Thursday. And I love listening to all the little kids sing, and I'm really sad that she's not going to be in that school next year and we're not going to be a part of it. Another thing that I love is that they have all of the kids make flags, paper flags that celebrate their veteran. And so most of the kids do a parent, their mom or dad, and I love that. But sometimes you'll have kids who do a grandparent or an uncle or a brother or somebody else that they know who has served. For our family, we are the second generation, and my son just joined the Army. He's at boot camp right now. So we have 3 generations of veterans, and how amazing is that? My father-in-law served, my husband served, and my son is now serving. And I just love that I can have such a strong sense of patriotism in our home, that we can celebrate our veterans, that we can recognize the sacrifices that they're making so that we can enjoy freedoms. So today I want to talk to you about grace. And the word grace has a lot of different meanings. It can be used in a lot of different ways, and I love that. I use it in a religious sense that talks about a portion of the atonement that strengthens us. And I have used that part of the atonement so much in my life during my military separations, when my husband's deployed or he's out of school and everything just seems to go wrong. I can call on my Savior and I can receive some extra strength. And I love that. But today we're going to be talking about being willing to give people the benefit of the doubt with regards to being kind and compassionate and understanding, human weakness, and human frailty, and choosing to love them anyways. I'm going to talk about first how we can show grace to other people, but what I really want to focus on is the ability to give yourself grace. I get how hard this can be. So I want to start off by telling you, every human being on this planet is lovable. The commander that you don't like, somebody loves him. The murderer, somebody loves him. The guy who runs the stoplight, or the guy who parks so you can't get out and waves you to back out because he's in the way and backs you right up into a rock. Somebody loves him. Everybody is lovable. I get it. It's really hard to wrap your head around. It's hard for me, but it's totally possible. Sometimes we meet people and we have people in our life that they're just hard to love, but it's not that the person's hard to love. It's our thoughts about that person. It's me. I am the one having a hard time loving that person sometimes. And that's one of the things that I teach my clients all the time, is that lovability is a skill that you can develop. It's a verb. You can get better at loving people, and that is amazing. You can increase your lovability, which isn't increasing how easy it is for people to love you, but how easy it is for you to love other people. Your ability to love. Let me tell you that again. You can increase your lovability, which isn't increasing how easy it is for people to love you, but how easy it is for you to love other people. Your ability to love others. And a really important part of increasing your ability to love others is learning to have grace and be willing to give people grace. Now, I recommend that this is something that you do, that this is a skill that you might want to work on and develop for yourself. Because when you love other people, you get to feel that love, and that feels so good. If you want help developing this skill, message me. Let's set up a time to chat. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. DM me at Maria Strange Coaching. Now, the other people are going to like it too, because they're going to like the way you show up better. They're going to like the things that you say or the person that you're becoming when you're feeling love. But I want your main motivation to be that you get to feel better and you get to be the higher version. You get to be the best version of yourself, the next version, the version that you're always working on, which feels amazing, and it creates the life that you want to live. And some people, they might not like it. Darn it. And that's okay too. People are going to say and do things that we don't like. People behave in ways that we think they shouldn't behave. And that could be your child making a choice that you don't like, the command team sending your husband out to the field. It could be your husband having to work on weekends. Your boss calls and tells you something. The school makes your kids wear masks during PE. People are going to do things that we don't like. They're going to behave in ways that we think they shouldn't behave, even in ways that we think everybody would agree with us that they should not behave that way. And that is where grace can be really useful. Because I'm not telling you that you shouldn't have your own opinion about it. I'm not suggesting that you should think that what people are doing is okay and that you have to accept it, even though it's just our thoughts. People should do this. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't lie. They should be honest. They should show up when they say they're going to. They should do what they say they're going to. We can go all the way from things like that, so that, again, most everybody would agree are wrong, but we can also go to the other end of the spectrum to, there's a right way to bake cookies or the right way to do laundry. Are you with me? There's anywhere on that continuum, and it's available no matter where you are in that continuum to give people grace. You don't even have to let go of the thought that this is the right way to make cookies, or people shouldn't lie to each other, or our kids shouldn't have to wear masks at school. You can keep those thoughts. Even though it's just a thought, you can choose grace. So grace is this. It's just, I love you anyways. That's it. I love you anyways. You're sending my husband to the field, and I love you anyways. You're making my husband go on a deployment, and I love you anyways. You folded the towels wrong, and I love you anyways. You made those cookies different than I would have, and I love you anyways. That's it. And that's going to be the case for every human in your life. They're never going to do it how you wish they would. Now, your favorite podcaster. I'm not saying your favorite. Maybe I am. I hope maybe one day. But I'm just saying your favorite coach or podcaster, your best friend is going to say things that you don't like. Your spouse. And you can keep the part where you don't like that. And it's okay. Now, the reason that I'm starting with this description of having grace for other people is because it's a lot easier to give other people grace than it is to give it to ourselves. It's a lot easier for me to love somebody else. It's a lot easier for me to say, oh, that's the way they do it, and I love them anyways. But what about when it comes to me? It's a lot harder to let myself off of the hook. So here's the thing I want to tell you about it. Grace is not necessary when people do things right or perfectly. Now, of course, what's the right way? Well, what's the perfect way? That's all up for debate. But if you're like, oh, my child folded the towels the way I wanted, they don't need grace in that moment. Or, wow, my husband doesn't have to work on Sunday. That's so great. Grace is only required when people do something we don't like or show up in a way that we don't care for. And that is the beauty of it. That is the beauty of loving people anyway. And it's a skill that I want to offer to you because I know it will make your life better. As I've worked on having grace for others and for myself, it has helped me to love my perfectly imperfect life. It has helped me to show up better. It has helped me to stop trying to control everyone. It's still, it allows me to keep my opinions, but to allow others to have theirs and to not hold so tight to them. It just allows me to disagree with them and that it's okay. And others can disagree with me, and that's okay too, because it doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. It just makes us different. We have different brains and different ideas, and that's so beautiful. So that's grace for other people. Now, I really want to focus on grace for yourself. And let me tell you why that is so powerful. Giving yourself grace is the hardest part. So if you can master it, that's great. Or even just to get a little bit better, that's fantastic. And what I'm teaching you today, you're going to be so much better at doing it for the other people in your life. How do you be kind to yourself when you mess up, or you drop the ball, or you fall short? How do you love yourself anyways? That's what I'm going to teach you today. Isn't that amazing? Why learning to give yourself grace is so necessary and important. What is it that you want? If it comes to some area of yourself that you're trying to improve, maybe it's a goal you're trying to achieve, or maybe it's a habit you're trying to start or stop, just something you want to change about yourself. I'm all for doing that. I like growing. I love changing myself in ways that I think will serve me and the rest of the world better. So whatever that is, maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to stop yelling at your kids, stop fighting with your husband, handle military life better, go to bed earlier. That's a big one for me that I'm working on right now. Just getting to bed earlier, because sometimes my husband really likes to go to bed early. We get up about 5:30 in the morning, and I can just tell I need more sleep. But I get sucked into a book or a work project or thinking about you guys and coming up with something great, or school. And I have to say, that's okay. What's going on? But really, when I take the time and I get to bed earlier, I feel so much better and I get so much more done the next day. Now, when we work on having grace for ourselves, I get that other people around you might have a different experience of you, but we can't control that. And that doesn't always happen. What I really want to know is what will be different for you in your experience if you achieve the change that you're trying to accomplish. What's going to be better for me if I get more sleep? Like my husband gets annoyed when I come in late after he's asleep and I wake him up. And that's totally fine. But what's going to be better so me going to bed earlier, then I'm not waking him up, and he probably appreciates that. But like last night, for example, I was in bed. I was quiet. I was reading on my iPad because our daughter was babysitting. And this morning I was like, how did you sleep? And he's like, oh, you were up so late. And I'm like, I was so quiet. I wasn't coming in and out like sometimes I am. And so here I had thought, got to bed a little bit earlier. Now I was waiting up for her, but I'm reading on my iPad, but there was no lights on. And so it was just really interesting that I thought he was going to be like, oh, it was so great. And it wasn't for him. And that's totally okay. It was just an interesting thing to look at, right? So let's use this other example of yelling at your kids. Let's say you're like, I don't want to yell at my kids. I feel terrible after I yell at them. I feel guilty. I don't think that's being a good parent. Life is hard for them with their dad deployed, and I'm making it worse. That was one of the things that I used to always tell myself. I don't think it's serving them, but I just can't get myself to ask. My question is, well, why do we want that? I would ask you, why do you want that? And most of you answer by saying, my kids deserve better, to which I say, okay, that's fine. But what about for you? We can't control your kids' experience or what they're thinking about it in the end. They get to choose it. So let's get out of theirs business and what would be different for you? Well, when I take the time to stop yelling at my kids, then I won't feel so bad afterwards. I won't have all the guilt and the shame. I won't dislike myself. I won't judge myself so harshly as a mother. So what I say is, okay, let's imagine that we're trying to get to the south end of a lake, right? My family, we really enjoy kayaking. And so we go across the lake all the time. The south end of the lake is where you're going to feel good about yourself. It's where you're going to like who you're being as a mother. You're going to feel confident, like, and I can love myself. That's the south end of the lake. Now we're up here at the north end of the lake. We just yelled at our kids and we want to get to the south end. Most of you tell me that you beat yourselves up and you say, let's not do that again. I'm such a horrible mother. I can't believe I did that. I'm failing. So let's stop. Let's just give you some grace. Let's be kind. Let's not yell at ourselves or for yelling at your kids. And they said, no, that can't be right. I don't think that's fair. I should feel bad. Now remember, the south end of the lake is where we feel good. We want to get over here, and we're over here on the north end. Is yelling at ourselves and talking down to ourselves going to help us get over here where we're feeling better about ourselves and showing up the way we want? I don't think so. Okay, so do you follow me? When you beat yourself up and you hate on yourself and you feel terrible about yourself, you're heading more north. You're heading away from the south side of the lake where self-love is, where the mom is that doesn't yell at her kids. And I know some of you might say, but that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. But really think about it. Are you going to become a better person by yelling at yourself? Now, some of you might tell me, but that works for me. When I beat myself up, when I tell myself that I'm not a good mom and I shouldn't do this, the next day, I don't yell at my kids. And I say, that's great. But guess what? It's false movement because you're not headed south. You're still rolling north. It's just that you scared yourself into change a little bit. You used fear on yourself. And we can motivate people through fear. People do it all the time. But it's just a temporary change that way. We can't get to long-term sustainability, healthy change that we actually want in that way. So if we're at the south end of the lake and we want to get to the north end, that's where grace can come in. You're never going to hate yourself better. It just won't happen. You have to love yourself better. And I'm not saying we say, oh, well, it's fine that I yelled at my kids. It's amazing I yelled at my kids. That's not going to do it either because that's not really true. But we can use grace as a vehicle. Grace is, all right, I yelled at my kids. I wonder why. What is going on for me? It's so fascinating that I did that. It's curious that I get curious about it. I wonder what's going on for me. What am I needing? What am I seeking? What's missing? My spouse is gone. He's deployed and I haven't talked to him in a couple of days and I'm feeling scared. Could that be behind me freaking out at my kids? What do I need? Maybe I need to take a few minutes for myself and just go breathe and reset. Do you see the difference? You don't have to go all the way to it's amazing. And I love that I did that. You can just give yourself some grace. Okay, so I did that. Now what? Now, here's another thing that I want to leave you about grace. Grace gets us focused on the future. It gets us pointed towards the future. We cannot be focused on the past and make the progress that we want to make. So notice, grace is okay, that thing happened. I did that thing. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what I'm needing. In coaching, that's exactly what we focus on. What are you needing? What do I want to do next? How do I want to think about myself now? How can I move forward showing up in the way that I want? During our last deployment, my daughter and I came up with a code word. And when one of us started to get agitated and you could just see the overwhelm and that frustration building, we would say the word and it would allow us to stop and refocus. Sometimes it would end up in giggles like, oh yeah. But for me, it was enough of a pause to ask, how do I want to think? What am I feeling? How do I want to feel? It was a way, it allowed me to give myself grace and to show up how I chose. Now, before we close today, I want to leave you with 4 tips to help you learn to give yourself some grace. Tip 1, slow down. Take the time to focus and see what is going on. Be willing to ask yourself, okay, now what? What am I needing? What am I missing? Did I skip a meal? Did I not get enough sleep? What is going on for me? So tip 1, slow down. Tip 2, expect yourself to be human. We're all going to lose it at times. We're going to say things we didn't mean. We're going to show up in a way that we're not proud of. Take a deep breath. It's okay. Learn from it. Choose how you want to show up the next time and move forward. Don't sit in the fat. Don't sit in the past. It's never going to serve us. Number 3, our weaknesses are our strengths overused. I love this one. What does that mean? Weaknesses are strengths overused. Okay, so I love to micromanage. I want things to be done my way and in the order that I want. So how is that a strength being overused? Well, I like things to get done. I'm a very active person and busy. I like to be busy and doing things and getting things accomplished. And so when I thought about, well, what strength could I be overusing? I realized that was that strength of busyness, of getting things accomplished, that I was overusing it. It became a weakness in that I was micromanaging my family, and it was causing discontent in our home. And so I thought about, well, how can we do this? And my husband and I kind of talked about it, and we came up with a game plan, and we make lists. And my kids love lists. My husband loves lists. And I can write down everything that I want on it. One of the deals is I can make my list in the morning, and that's it. I don't get to add on to it throughout the day. I can start the list for the next day. I'm like, oh, I thought about this and this, because my brain, I just think a little bit faster than them, and that's totally okay. But when I make that list, if there's something that I was like, ooh, this one is the important one for me, I can put a little star by it, and they know to do that one, to make sure that gets done. And what doesn't get done on that list can just roll over to the next day. And it has brought so much less contention into our home, because I've learned to look at my weaknesses and to see, well, how is it a strength that's being overused? How can I pull it back and use it in the way that I want it to be used? So tip number 4 is to practice giving yourself grace. We are humans having a human experience. Practice, practice, practice. That's all I got for you. The more we practice giving ourselves grace, the easier it gets, I promise. So let me tell you those tips again. Tip 1, slow down. Tip 2, expect yourself to be human. Tip 3, weaknesses are strengths overused. And tip 4, practice giving yourself grace. As you put these tips into order, I can't wait to hear how you grow in grace and in love for others and in love for yourself. Do you have a life coach? Do you have someone to help you on your journey of being a military spouse, being a military wife? If you don't, I would love to be your life coach. You can sign up for a free 60-minute consult at mariastrangecoaching.com/work with me. Shoot me a message. As always, I will see you next week. Have a great day. Bye.